It's time to evaluate scrapping the agency and revisiting our immigration system in a way that is humane.
Get rid of it, start over, reimagine it.
Look at ICE. What a group of incompetents. Separating children from their families is just plain wrong.
Replacing ICE with something that reflects our morality.
Their mission, I think, is very much in question and has to be re-examined.
That seems a little extreme. Just get rid of ICE. Start from scratch or go back to what we had before. It isn't that long, but 2003 that ICE came into effect. So just go back to the good old days or different old days, or how do you want to look at it? Let's get the read on this from Frederick County, Maryland Sheriff Chuck Jenkins. He says it's not ICE that should be put on ice, but maybe some of these protests. Sheriff, very good to have you.
Thank you, Neil.
What do you make of this here? The one that stood out to me, and there were so many comments, but from Dick Durbin, besides saying that they're a group of incompetents referring to ICE, saying they're more focused on toddlers than terrorists. What do you think?
Well, that was a very demeaning statement to law enforcement, particularly ICE. But, you know, it's insensitive, it's demeaning, and actually an ignorant statement by Senator Durbin. These senators don't understand the mission of ICE. It's a very professional law enforcement organization. As a matter of fact, our first line of defense at the border. This is about national security.
So when the president says that they're the ones out of touch, he had remarked, Sheriff, that when we have an infestation of MS-13 gangs in certain parts of the country, who do we send to get them out? He says ICE. So these groups argue, well, there were other groups doing this sort of thing before ICE. Who were they?
Well, no, there were never groups like this before ICE. There was INS, which preceded ICE,
right,
but they didn't have the mission of going in and conducting interior enforcement. That's what the mission of ICE is.
So when you hear this outrage, there are among Democrats who've been pushing this, Sheriff, I get a sense that they're fearing, at least some of the leaders in Congress, that they're going too far, that most Americans support, you know, the ICE efforts to protect our border and all of that, and that they're going too much out on a limb. What do you think?
This is a bridge too far. Listen, as local law enforcement, I need a partner, a federal partner that will help me clean up my neighborhoods, my communities, get rid of the criminal element that's in this country illegally. And the agency to do that and carry that out is ICE.
So when you hear from Senators Gillibrand and Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris and on, they argue that what we had before, whether it was INS or working with authority, that they had a better sense of how to do things. But a lot of this seems to be based on this separation of kids from their parents, which is now, you know, been dialed back to the point where we're now trying to reunite those kids with their parents. So what is really the source of this, you think?
Well, I think these particular senators are pandering to an outcry for political purposes. Listen, I visited the border 4 years ago, 2014, and the identical same thing was going on under the Obama administration, but there was no outcry. But again, 4 years later, we have more gang members in this country, more MS-13, other Latino criminal gangs, and the problem's much worse. So we need ICE as a federal partner. The president is right on the mark on this to say, listen, ICE is here to stay. They've got a mission. They're great men and women that do a job that's very dangerous.
If we didn't have this whole dust-up over the separation of the kids and the parents, and to your point, a variation of which happened under President Obama, happened under President Bush, would we even be having this conversation?
I really don't think we would. I think it would be business as usual. But again, I think the president is on the right path, putting the right people in place within the ICE organization. And I've dealt with ICE for 10 years. They are professionals. They know what they're doing from top to bottom, from cabinet level people to the agent on the street. They're professionals carrying out an important mission for this country.
All right. Sheriff, thank you very, very much. Good seeing you.
Thank you, Neil.